And welcome, folks, to another edition of the Michigan Football Breakdown, focused on the offense with that man they call Gorgeous Al Borges. As we are in the week of the game, heading into Ohio State, it is one of the games that Al Borges remembers best from his time here at Michigan. And it is the game that, as Michigan heads into coming off of its best offensive performance of the season. That's not hard to be this season, Al Borges. We saw some things on this week's game film that are encouraging, to say the least, and hopefully a lot of that carries over into this in this week against the Buckeyes. Al, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Sam. I love doing these shows after Michigan wins because so much more upbeat. There's so much more good stuff to talk about, and going into the big game with a big victory and what I thought was the best overall offensive effort of the season. Um, you know, these are fun to do. They're fun to do when these types of things happen. So let's see what happens, Sam. I think a lot of people are probably saying, I don't know what kind of chance we have against these guys. Oh, they don't know. It's a little different game. And a lot of times what you've done in the past doesn't have a damn thing to do with what's going to happen in the future. So
we already have a Buckeye in the house.
Yeah, there they are. They're lurking everywhere, Sam. They're behind the corner.
Look at this. So listen, I like that the Buckeyes, when they come out and they are present, and they are hiding in the shadows.
Yeah.
And so CW2, the Buckeye says Michigan ranks second to last nationally in passing explosiveness. We know this very well, CW. We've seen it all. It's not a revelation. All right. It says, and play at the 118th slowest pace in the country.
I'm not sure that's bad. Yeah, I'm not sure that's bad. Now that's
not a bad stat. The first is a bad stat.
Yeah.
The second one is a good stat. I like the slow pace. They need to continue that slow pace this week against the Buckeyes. That's to me, should be part of the recipe this week, Al Borges.
Yeah, I think anybody who thinks going fast is the answer to offense doesn't know offense. Now, some teams go fast and they do well, and I'm not saying that it can't be an ingredient. But Michigan a year ago won the national championship and ran little to no fast offense other than maybe in 2-minute situations. So it is one way to go about it, but it's not necessarily the panacea.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. We got a lot to get into here today on the show. Of course, we'll be reflecting upon the Northwestern game. A lot of folks say, hey, it was just Northwestern. Michigan beat 50-6. With as bad as Michigan has been at times on offense this season. Beggars can't be choosers, folks.
You take what you can get.
Hey, you take what you can get, because it has been a struggle offensively in some of these games. I mean, and you consider how Michigan came off the bye in the first iteration of the bye. What was it, after the Washington game and then the Illinois? And it looked like they regressed coming out of the bye. Mm-hmm. So to see them show some signs of improvement, or some of the things that we'll point out is Sharon heading into this bye said, I'm gonna challenge the staff to bring some different ideas, to come with some different thoughts. And you could take that literally, Al, and you can say, hey, is he saying I'm going to have like this collaborative coaching or play calling approach like Jim used to do? And maybe there was some of that. Or was it just, hey, I want you guys to bring some different plays to the equation, and we'll incorporate that in our agenda and practice and during game prep and game planning. Maybe it was that. Whatever it was, Al, there were some new wrinkles that were thrown into the mix, and that was definitely evident during the Northwestern game.
Yeah, and maybe not as evident to the layman, but certainly to the expert or the guys that really study the game, there were some things there that they either had done before but didn't do much, or had not done it all. Okay. So, and a couple of those things. Number one is the RPO slash run control part of their offense really up the ante. Now they've had a little of that in every game, but it wasn't not a big part of their offense. But virtually on every run play, there was some option to RPO, okay, or throw what I call run control bubbles and spot screens and such. They threw a few of them, but what they did more than anything, Sam, is they served to spread the defense enough where they had to defend those things and open up the run game, okay, rather than asking the receivers to constantly block the perimeter. They shifted gears on that a little bit, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, man. You know what it felt like? I don't. It felt like, and it felt like some Sharon with some Kasula sprinkled in. That's what it felt like. Felt like some Kasula here, some Sharon there, some
Yeah, that's
Sharon here,
possible.
some
That's
some
possible.
some Sharon here, some Kasula there.
Yeah, I don't sit in the media, so I don't really know. But that was one factor. The other factor was the chipping. They did more chipping, more doubling, at least temporarily doubling outside rushers with their backs. Now, again, we've seen that at times, but it was a habit in this game. Constantly, the backs, after they checked their blitz responsibility, were trying to take bites out of those defensive ends and help the quarterback see the throw a little bit more. So I think that was both those factors, one in the pass game and the other in the run game, I think contributed. There was also some nuance within the run game, and that yes, they run insert zones. They're a team that likes to insert zone. They're good at it, but they actually had some variations that we have not seen before. I've never done before myself, where they were usually using the insert. The inserter was an inline tight end, which makes the play very unpredictable. Now you don't know when it's coming, and they hit a big one on that, a really big one. Klein came around and wrapped on the linebacker, and Donovan broke a long run. The first three runs of the second half, Sam, were all insert zones, and I don't think they even showed one in the first half. And that got them going. That first drive was huge now because they had started the game driving for a touchdown and finished the half driving for a touchdown. Now, how were they going to establish themselves in the second half? Because that could determine the outcome of the game. And right off the top, they start running the football at a team that's a pretty good defensive team. Now, a lot of people will minimize the win, but because Northwestern's record isn't great. But one thing Northwestern is a formidable defensive football team. But Michigan really, I think for the first time, took the initiative offensively, kind of emptied the drawer a little bit and said, "The hell with it. Whatever we got, and we're going to use it and see what the hell happens." So I think that was a big part of their success.
Yeah. There's some real wrinkles, in the run game. You mentioned some innovative things with the insert, and that was a great sort of nuance. I mean, Michigan is no stranger to inserts, right? I mean, you can think of the insert with, hey, speaking of Ohio State, right? Zach Zenner, the Zach Zenner injury, the Blake Corum play that he scores on, the next play was an insert.
It was an insert. Let's
Right.
talk about what that is for a second, Sam, just so the fans that have not been exposed to it. An insert zone is kind of reverse isolation play where there's a zone being run, let's say to the right, okay? And rather than zoning the entire line of scrimmage and cutting off the backside in with someone like on a split zone or reading that player, what they do is they block the back two defensive linemen and insert a tight end or a fullback or somebody on the inside linebacker. Then that separates the defense a little bit more and gives the back more options, where now you can press in behind that zone blocking. If you see that there's division in the defense, the insert hits clean, you can take the ball back. So it's got another dimension to it.
Yeah, and so normally that the inserter, Ben Bredesen or whoever you have working as your inserter, is in the backfield.
Oh, in the backfield or off the ball on the tight end side. That too,
Right.
which they showed in that game. But
Right.
never have I seen it yet, and I haven't seen any other teams do this, where they left the tight end in normal inline position and wrapped Klein around. See, the thing about the insert is you can get a clue it might be coming because somebody's off the ball. They say because they're saying, oh, they're not going to insert with anybody on the ball. Well, Michigan threw him a curveball.
Yeah, he was on the ball and he wrapped around and Donovan almost popped it for a touchdown.
Great picture of it in our film study. Great picture of it in our film study. We take it to the umpteenth with regard to evaluation.
Yeah, it was definitely a curveball. Northwestern, they aren't world beaters on defense, but they're pretty solid on defense.
Yeah,
and Michigan, and to be clear, Michigan wasn't their best rushing offense this year was when Alex Orji was in the game. This is not a vintage Michigan's rushing attack the last 3 years. This was their line was like that the last 3 or the first 2 years of the run. And then last year wasn't really vintage. It was really JJ McCarthy sort of balancing the equation as a quarterback, kind of keeping the defense honest. That really sort of awakened the run game again, right? This year, they really needed Alex to sort of help with the +1 run game to kind of help give them some balance in the run equation. Without him, they couldn't run the football hardly at all.
No,
right?
but remember, Sam, they weren't using all those RPOs and all those,
Right.
all the run control stuff. But in this game, to supplement not playing Orgy, they used more of that stuff, and I think it had an effect. I mean, I know it had an effect to a degree, although it didn't have an effect in that they were throwing it out there and getting 1,000,000 yards. What they were doing is just spreading the defense enough to lighten the box some.
But we talked about that earlier this season, Al.
Yeah, we did.
This is something we've been saying. Look, I'm no expert. I just talk to experts, and it just seemed logical to me that if you're gonna play a quarterback that is not Alex, that you got to present the defense some threat that they respect. Either you're going to zone read them some to make them respect that element, or you're going to RPO him some to make them respect that. I mean, give them something to say, hey, you know what? We can't just have, this extra man in the box just indiscriminately screaming down on it, triggering hard on any run action and just blowing your stuff up.
Yeah, the best example of that was Michigan State, Sam. Michigan State, I mean, I think I had them 9 times on add-ins where one guy was adding in after the ball snap, unfettered, without having to worry at all about something coming in behind him or whatever, and that just really makes it hard on a team to run the football who is not imposing up front.
Right, and that's not Michigan this year, but in this game, like you said, I mean, they RPO'd it some, and you mentioned, man, they're throwing run controls, and like you said, they didn't throw it. It's not like they were.
You don't have to always throw it, No, they have to defend it. That's the key. Is they have to defend. The first play of the game, they pulled an open zone. Davis rolled out of the pocket and threw a late run control pass or RPO type pass that only gained 4 or 5 yards, but they're aware that now they'll do it. And then it just kept coming. Every run play. I think every run play, darn near every run play that I charted, but one were the receivers involved in some form of run pass option.
Yeah. So there's that kind of, this is what most teams do, right? Most teams can't line up and just say, I'm better than you. So they have to do things to kind of balance the equation, right? And so Michigan in this game did what most teams who just can't line up and just, I have better dudes than you, and or I can out execute you, and I have better dudes than you. This is what they do. I can play the numbers game, or I can play off of you. And it worked. They played off of the opponent, and it opened some things up. And you got to believe, Al, that in this game versus Ohio State, I mean, you're going to have to trust your quarterback. but some RPO action is going to be available.
Yeah, you got to do it anyway, Sam. You got to do it anyway. I mean, uh, Ohio State is like every team that they play, only they're much more talented in that they're going to say, we're going to make the quarterback beat us. Okay. And they've said that the last few years, I'm sure, at least in part. So I think you're going to get the ultimate in that mentality. So it's going to press the issue with Michigan to be able to pull some balls out and maybe throw some RPOs and soften that back end, or that, those add-in defenders with RPOs or play action passes or whatever. And then when you get into a passing situation, find a way to give your quarterback the best opportunity to get the ball released. And if that means chip blocker, that means full turns, that means less people out, whatever, we got to give the quarterback a chance to stand erect and make that throw, where he's not having to fall back and with all kinds of traffic and that and such, because that's going to lead to disaster. But I think the key, like any other game, is staying in front of the chains and making their people who trigger run slow down just enough to where you can get the ball rushed a little bit.
Yeah, man, it was good to see. Any chance, gorgeous Borges, that you were just like, hey, we've been keeping this in the toolkit, because I've been asking you for a long time. They've been reluctant to RPO in the past because they want to control their run pass balance. I'm convinced you've educated me on that, because I've been on this RPO train for years now. And you say, you dumb non-coach, you Sam, you don't know jack
I
about.
wouldn't talk to you like that, Sam. Now, would I?
Oh yes, you do. Yes, you talk. What do you call me? Numb nuts. You don't know anything about coaching football, Sam Webb. Why don't you call RPOs all the time? Because I want to control how much I run the football, Sam
I think
Webb.
that was their thinking in the past, don't you? I think that was their thinking in the past. Is I don't want to look at the score box after it's over with and look at 35 passes thrown, and maybe 8 of those were RPOs. I don't want to do that. I want to rush the football. That's our culture. That's what we're going to be, and it's been successful. There's no reason you can't argue with them now. But this year there is an argument. There is not, because you're just not, as we said, the type of team that can mow people over consistently. So you got to maybe add another piece of equipment to your offense.
Right. So I take it. I listen to you as the coach, but then I watch it this year, and I'm like, well, okay, well, why not now, Al? Why not now? Why no RPOs this year? That doesn't make as much sense to me. Explain it to me now. And so I'm trying to figure it out, and maybe it's that they just been. You think they just been saving them up and wait for the right time?
No, I think it was their culture not to. It just was their culture not to. I know my first year at Michigan, particularly, it was my culture. We wanted to toughen the team up, one receivers blocking downfield. We didn't want to do all that stuff. Now we evolved to get to more of that, but that was the thinking. And to this point, there was no reason not to think that. But then all of a sudden, the season came and things started developing differently than they anticipated. And that requires a shift in thinking, and it probably took them longer than it should have to do it, but they got it. And let's see if it can carry over for the next games to play, which there'll be more than one.
Nuber said that's your love language. He must love me a lot. He must love me a lot. You would think my name was Numbnuts. No. You would think it was.
The problem is, Sam, I just don't have GAs to yell at anymore, and you're all I got left. So,
yeah, man. Yeah. So here's the thing, though. You had no chance of running the football with Davis Warren in the game the way that they were doing it. That's number one. So you gotta, now you're in a position, if you want to have any hope of running the football against this team, against Ohio State, you better have some of this in the equation on top of your line, just better block better. Like, I don't care what you're doing. All this RPO, all this strategy stuff is fine and dandy. Your line just flat better, block better. And Al, you pointed out in the film study, hey, all that twisting that Indiana was doing, guess what? Against Northwestern, the line did a better job against that.
Yeah, we detailed that a little bit. And you knew that Northwestern was going to test the waters on that because it was so obvious in the last game that they didn't handle it very well. But you could tell in a lot of ways, not just that, but a bunch of stuff. They worked on some things where they weren't blocking stationary targets all week. They were moving folks, and the line looked like they were more comfortable with a few deals. And we detail that some in the film study also. So, yeah, I think for just from an overall perspective, the offensive line, and I'm going to talk about the grades later. They graded better than they have all season. And a lot of it, Sam, just seemed like more awareness. You know what I mean? More awareness, which led to better technique, which led to picking off people trying to run through and gaps and such. Or just getting the back started, and then adding to it again the RPOs and such. I think that was all. Those were all a factor.
Yeah, yeah, it was. You could tell they did some work. They did some good work. There was one early in the game that's in the film study, and it was a no play. I think it was when
Yeah,
I
it
say
didn't
no
gain
play,
anything. Yeah.
yeah, it didn't gain anything, so maybe you didn't pay attention, and it looked like maybe the line didn't get good blocking, but they picked up a twist.
Yes, they did.
They picked up a twist, and you pointed out it was just it was a misread by the back. It was Donovan on play.
No, yeah, he took it back too early and didn't give him a chance to sort that twist out. It'd have been Donovan in the safety, but yeah, the play didn't get any yard, but one because of the line. The line did a very nice job of spotting. I think they saw the defensive end. I think it was Link saw the defensive end was kind of light with his hand. He wasn't really wound real tight, meaning he was blowing up field. So he kind of sensed it, and rather than step with his outside foot to try and engage him and push him wide, he stepped with his inside foot, anticipating a game or a line charge variation, and him and Ahadi just passed it up beautifully. So you could tell they had worked on it.
Yeah, that was good to see, 'cause coaches are copycats. You hear that?
Yeah.
They smell blood in the water, man. They're gonna keep hitting you with it till you
There's
show
no
'em different.
patent on defense, Sam. There's no patent on offense. You can't sign anything and it's yours. No, this isn't a book or an invention. Okay, this stuff is stolen all the time.
Yeah,
I've been a
folks.
culprit and I've been stolen from. So that's just the nature of coaching.
Yeah, check out the film study. It is revelatory when
Mhm.
you can see that there were some definite wrinkles that if you are looking for some hope for the offense against Ohio State to move the football because Michigan's matchup, the only matchups in Michigan's favor are on defense. Like Michigan's front seven has an advantage in this game. Like
Yeah.
that is a distinct advantage. That's one where you look at it, you say, "Hey, Michigan's more times than not, they're going to win this." And so, if you are game planning it, you're like, yeah. To me, it's like we can play to that. I'm hoping that I can rely on those guys to maybe make some plays, make some havoc plays, maybe get some turnovers, make some splash plays. I'm going to be super aggressive at times with them and maybe not take too many chances on the back end and be a little more conservative on the back end. But on offense, don't have a lot of don't have a lot of matchup advantages over there. You got to figure out how you're going to be able to run this football, how you're going to move this ball, Al. If they're going to do it, it's going to be with some of the things that we saw on film in that Northwestern game, Al. And some of the things we saw on film in that Northwestern game aren't things that were on film really at any other time this season. And therein lies maybe some of the advantage because Michigan, Ohio State, they're watching each other all season
Yeah.
and they're preparing all season. Well, this is something that when you're watching Michigan and you're Ohio State, you're like, well, hey, this is not what we've been watching them do. Not to
Right.
say they're going to have a super tough time, but still, it's not something they've been watching Michigan do all season.
Yeah, and they can use some of that stuff and variations of some of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And maybe formation changes, presentation changes that don't make what's coming too obvious. Okay. So but it's a good game to have before you play the big game. But to play, have a what is in essence is a complete effort as they've had right before the biggest game of the season.
Yeah, man. Your thoughts on Davis Warren. I thought I mentioned to you or been asking you basically, how do you coach? Not the technical stuff, because you're always talking about footwork and mechanics, and I'm not minimizing that. I know that's a big part of your
They're
job,
huge. Yeah, that's huge.
but coaching um, intestinal fortitude,
Hmm.
that's a part of it too, because that was an issue against Indiana. How do you build that back, get that back up? Because I thought it was back against Northwestern, and he really stepped up in that regard in that game against the Wildcats.
Yeah, I think he played better than he's played all year. Now, two things led to that, in my opinion. Okay, maybe three things, and we've already talked about them. Number one is the ability to rush the football based on the inclusion of the RPO game. That helps right there. Okay, that helps because if you're running the football, you're just in less must-pass situations. Okay, but he drove them down in 2 minutes where there weren't many runs. Okay, so it wasn't just that. Okay, chipping, the chipping, just giving him that little more security to know that the tackles are getting help. That was a huge part. But I think the RPOs, the run game in general, and the chipping contributed to his confidence in the pocket, and that's huge now because it makes such a difference when you're not getting hit every time, or at least feel like you're getting hit. He threw one interception, and I think it was a protection breakdown. Again, I'm not sure how they handle corner blitzes. I haven't talked to him about that. Some people side adjust them all the time. Some people expect the line to pick them up if, in fact, they don't bring too many folks to one side. But in that instance, I think that the corner was free. He hit him and overthrew an open receiver. But after that, his recovery was excellent. He came back in the 2 minute drive and took him down for a touchdown. So I just think he too, like so many of them, took another step in his football game.
Yeah, I thought that that 2 minute drive was,
Masterful. Yeah, it was
yeah,
nice, very nicely done, very well conceived.
yeah, it was big because of its timing, not just because it was the 2 minute drill, but because it came right after he threw an interception. That
Right.
he stepped up right after that was significant. He had a big third down conversion in there. He threw the touchdown pass came with 12 seconds left on a third down. All of that was very, I think, important to see on the heels of that Indiana game. So good for him and good for them that they were able to see him step up in that way. And Al, to your point, I mean, you do things as a coach, game plan wise, to help build comfort. You throw some RPOs in there, and then that chipping, they've chipped before,
That's
but
not
like
new. No,
you
not, not
said,
not to this degree though. Yeah, you
yeah,
could
you
you
said they're
could see, Sam. You could see the backs would check their responsibility, and we're always slow to go. That's what I tell a guy when we're in a chipping situation, we're slow to go, which means once we check release, we're going to make damn sure there's no issues on the edge. Okay, so they were a little slower to go the whole game. You may have lost a backside check down receiver, but at the end of the day, it was probably worth it.
yeah, to chip basically every play. That's that's a comforting, has to be a comforting thing for him,
Yeah,
him being Davis. And so Uh, you know, I imagine they're going to give him some more of that against a team that is going to have
two
much
good
more
pass rushers. Yeah,
good
yeah.
pass rushers, and then they like to bring more pressure. That's one of the things that Ryan Day even said. I think they were having problems getting pressure with four. He's like, hey, we got to bring some more guys. We got to get heat on the passer. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, they're gonna be coming after him.
Yeah, they're still not a zero coverage team per se. They have it, and you'll see it maybe in desperation situations, but they are a five-man pressure team where they'll find ways to pop an inside linebacker, bring their nickel back off the edge, and those types of things just to get an additional rusher involved.
So Al, this is a team that is, we've seen teams be able to get deep on them. I feel like they gotta force themselves to take a shot. I
Sure.
know we as much as we say you lean run, and if Michigan has to lean lean on their run game and get throw some RPO action in there. That's gonna be the bulk of what they do. But it just feels like you can't be neglectful of taking a shot or two and not waiting till it's desperation heaves. I think you got to force
Mhm.
yourself to do it early in this game.
Well, that's what they've done with them the last 3 years. Now, they've obviously they've had better teams, but I don't think the mentality's gotta change much. I still think you're gonna have to take, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 shots during the course of the football game, and maybe move the pocket a little bit too, which is always tough on the defensive line because they don't always know where the launch point's gonna be, but whenever you're protecting, I've said this before, that I think about every third play, there has to be some kind of a pocket change where you're moving a little left, moving a little right, or moving drastically left or drastically right, either off a play pass or just off a sprint, just so that they don't always know where that launch point is. And it gives a quarterback an opportunity to pull himself a little closer to the target, which can enhance the percentage of the throw. So,
Absolutely. Well, folks, like I said, if you watch the film study, you will see that it wasn't just that they played Northwestern, and it wasn't just that they blocked and executed better. Yeah, those were factors for sure, but there were different strategic wrinkles in this game that were meaningful that you will glean from watching the film study. The film studies are available exclusively on the Autograph app. If you are not familiar with the Autograph app, you can find it for free by going to the following link. It is link.ag.fan/Sam Webb. It is link.ag.fan/Sam Webb. It is free and available on Android and iOS. And the great thing about it is, you also get your favorite free blogs that are dedicated to Michigan. Also, our free content from the Michigan Insider flows through on that app. Your favorite free Michigan podcast, your favorite free Michigan videos, including, of course, the film studies.
how about points, Sam? How about points? I like free and I like points.
Well, see, Al, you've been doing this for a while. And so you accrue those points just by
Cool,
viewing these videos and listening to the podcast and reading
cool points.
all that free content.
I like
You
it.
add up all those points, and then you're able to redeem them for rewards like access to exclusive events, tickets to games, and all these. So it's
No,
a great concept.
yeah, no,
Tom
it is.
Brady and his crew came up with it. So even Buckeyes, even Buckeyes.
Buckeye Sam,
So
Buckeyes
there's a
too.
Buckeye equivalent. You can use it to get to
Yeah,
your ticketed events and exclusive events
yeah,
down here in Columbus, whatever you guys like to do.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
what you like to do down there. So, so it works for you guys too. So anyway, and it helps my man Al Borges to get paid, helps my
All the
man
time,
Van Spepper get paid. This is how we keep it going.
which is very important. Very important.
Very, very important. So I'll put that link on the screen for you guys to if you want to enjoy the film study. This is how you do it, how you support it going and growing. We're going to get to the questions for Al Borges going in a few moments, but right now it is time for the grades. So
Yeah,
Al, let's get
yeah.
to the grades.
This was good. Finally got some decent grades. This is good. I gave the line a B plus. They did a nice job. Now they gave up, I think, at one sack. Was it one sack? And maybe a couple pressures, but for the most part, they were solid. And we haven't said that in a while. Okay, tight ends were excellent. I graded them with an A. The running backs were very good. I graded them with an A. Quarterback with a B plus. How about that one now? And the wide receivers with a B. And I think the overall offense was a B to B plus. It was not, it wasn't prolific by any means, but 50 points, Sam. Come on now. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a lot of points. And excellent second half, great beginning and end to the first half. Okay. Which I think had something to do with the excellent second half. So overall, you got, like I said, I think the best effort that they've had the entire season.
Yeah, man. That's big time. So Tim Lanke said, I think most of the plays I saw called this week where a lot of plays have been calling all year. I just see better execution. That is not see, there's nuance to it though, Tim. This
Yeah,
is why you need to watch the film study, because that oversimplifies
it does.
what
But
you
it's
saw.
not completely wrong either, though, because there were a lot of the same plays, but because some of the things they factored into those plays made them a little different.
That's right. That's right. And which makes teams have to defend those plays different. And
Mhm.
that's the story, though. If they have to defend the play different, then the play works better. And it comes down to more than just execution as to why the play worked. The
I
play
think,
didn't work.
Sam,
Go
the
ahead, Al.
best way I think to answer Tim's point is in the past. I think when the ball was handed off, there was a team meeting on the ball defensively. I think they were storming the ball indiscriminately with safeties most of the time or whatever. But this week, they were forced more to guard other dudes, whether you threw them the ball or not. Other dudes had to be respected, which gave the run game more of an opportunity to get to the second and third level. Maybe that's
100%.
oversimplifying it, but I think that's got something to do with what went on.
Yeah. So now that's the point. So it wasn't just because Michigan executed better that the plays worked. It wasn't just better execution because there was more nuance to the play, because there's a run control on the play now. Now teams have to defend the play different.
Right. And again, I use the Michigan State game as the best example for anybody who remembers. There were 11 times that Michigan State added safeties or corners into the box without being threatened by any perimeter run control. Well, they just couldn't do that this week. So maybe that's the difference. And he's right. There were a lot of the same plays, but a little different approach.
Hmm. Yeah, and then you run the same play and you make it look different, like you said with the insert. That makes a difference.
That makes it all of it. It's not predictable. You know what I mean? It blindsides you a little bit, particularly if you've never seen it before. That look anyway.
Hmm. Hmm. Tim Nixon, we love getting into it with you guys as well. As well.
I hope we help you. I hope we help you. You know, we don't want Joe Schmatz. We don't want him taking charge of the water cooler now. You got to grab the bull by the horns.
Would I debate Zach Smith? What are we talking? Porno flicks? I don't. I guess what are we talking about? Sex toys? I mean, what is the Jew's expertise? I don't know what he's an expert in. What are we debating? I mean, recruiting? He wasn't very good at that either. I mean, can he be a recruiting coordinator somewhere? Can he be an analyst somewhere? It seems like the dude has been demoted from his level of expertise. At least what I do, I've been moving up. And what he does, he's been going down every step of the way. So you explain to me what would we be debating? Al, why are you shaking your head? The man
I
asked
said,
me a
well, once
question.
you start, you never stop. See that
Man asked me a
somebody
question.
pushed
I
the button,
answered.
and now you're going to go
I'm
completely
sorry.
bananas.
I'm sorry. I didn't. I don't know
Sam,
what
I don't want to. I don't want to inhibit you. You got to
Okay,
say what you got to
okay.
say.
I'm back on the subject. I just want to know what we've been debating. That's all. All right. If you have questions for Al Borges, if you have questions for Al Borges, put them in the chat now. If you have questions for Al Borges, put them in the chats now. In the chat now, and we will get to them.
You know, the fans like you when you're like this, Sam. I might not necessarily
Hey
like
man, it's Ohio
you.
State week.
Well, I
Michigan
know.
may be a 3-touchdown underdog,
Yeah,
but it is still Ohio State week, so we got to
doggone
get
right.
in.
Doggone right, Sam.
Questions
They've
for Al Borges. Get them in
fired
the
up your competitive juices, and you get what you get.
That's right. In the chat now. Hey, by the way, folks, I meant in the chat, not in the I meant in the chat now. You know what I meant when I put this on the screen. We have the Black Friday sale going on right now over at the MichiganInsider.com. 75% off in annual subscription. Now, if you had been following us over on the MichiganInsider.com, then you would have been up to speed on what was coming down the pike when it came to Bryce Underwood. You would have known that everything that you were hearing everywhere else about Michigan having no chance at the number one quarterback in the country was off base. I mean, the LSU guys were totally oblivious. The rest of the Michigan beat had no clue. If you followed us, you would have known that that was off base. We told you that fireworks were on the horizon, and fireworks came. And they started, they started with the gut feeling on Andrew Babalola. The fireworks then started off. You saw Shamari Earls, they started popping off, and you go down the pipe and you see a guy like Elijah Dotson. I mean, you keep it going. You keep it flowing. And you see who else is going to come down the pipe. It should be some more excitement. Now you do see some outlandish demands on the NIL side of things. That doesn't mean that we won't see some more excitement to come. So you want to get in right now over on the MichiganInsider.com and 75% off. This is the best deal of the year, the Black Friday special, and it got going early, but only for a limited time. I'm going to put the link in here right now to give you all the details on the deal. I'm going to put it right here in the chat for you to follow. So you can go over to the MichiganInsider.com and check it out. And you can get in while you can. But again, it's only for a limited period of time. I'll also put it in the description for you guys, Facebook, Twitter, the whole nine. So you can follow it, and we'll start going ahead and get into the questions. But that is the link for you guys who want to get in over on TMI for the recruiting updates. That's the recruiting side of things. All right, let's go ahead and start getting into the questions for Gorgeous Borges. Al Borges. Keegan Imhoff wants to know, how does our offensive line match up against Ohio State?
Well, on paper, or not necessarily on paper, but based on the results, the first 11 games, first instincts would just be to say not very good. But understand we are now in the 12th game of the season, and based on the performance of a week ago, I think the offensive line has started to figure some things out. And I think some of the schematics that have been included to the offense is going to help the offensive line. But man for man, I'd be less than honest if I told you that they match up great with Ohio State. But this is a different game, and they tend to play better than they are in this game. So I would not write them off because man for man, they don't look as good. We have some formidable athletes up there that I think will fight their butt off to win this football game. So don't count them out regardless of how I or anybody else feels about a matchup.
All right. If you have questions for Gorgeous Al Borges, put them in the chat right now. If you have questions for Al, put them in the chat now, and I will knock them down in succession. I'll go to the next question, and it comes from this was earlier from Barry Allen. It says Mullings in the fourth quarter is an advantage, Sam. I think that means if you're going Mullings in the fourth quarter, that means it's a close game. I agree with that, Al. If they can get
so do I. I do too.
The close game, I think that's advantage Michigan.
I think he's an advantage in any quarter, but in the fourth quarter particularly because he can wear on you. If at that point in the game's close and it becomes somewhat of a pound fest, maybe a 4-minute situation or just the ability to get a key first down with your run game, I think he's the answer because he will run the football hard. And when he gets his shoulders turned to the defense, people are going backwards, and there's a consistency to that. So I would definitely agree with that statement.
All right. Let's go to more questions. Adam Shepardson wants to know, Coach, would you agree our backs hit the holes with more urgency than hit the holes? I'm talking about against Northwestern. Would you agree our backs hit the holes with more urgency than the majority of the season? Maybe senior day urgency or possibly trusting the blocking more?
I think they did, but I think there were still some errors. I still think there were some times where they could have hit it better. But yeah, for the most part, and I think it reflected the results of the run game, But I think the line, like I said, they played better than they've played. It looked like a different offensive line at times. So they gave them some opportunities that may not have been there in the past as often.
Tim Nixon, yes, Tim. You want to check us out over on the MichiganInsider.com. We got a lot of recruiting updates. Check out the one we got coming on Moton. I think there was one this morning, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't check to see if that update was actually posted. Got the Recruiting Insider coming up, but lots of updates over on the MichiganInsider.com. If you haven't taken advantage of that 75% off update, you want to take advantage of it now. That's 7 cents per day, and you'll get your fill of the recruiting updates. So go ahead and take advantage of that right now. Want to get to more of the questions for Al, though. Next one. Running back screens and end rounds. Donovan. Once more Donovan in the pass game. We've heard this a time or two before. What do you think about that, Al?
Well, I'm for it. I'm totally for it. I noticed in this game, Sam, although they didn't get the results I'm sure they wanted, they were trying to get Donovan more involved in the pass game. They were, but it just didn't work out, I think, the way they wanted. But I think though that approach, the screens, the swings, getting him in some run control with bubbles and such, I think all that would be good stuff in this football game. And it'll get the attention of the defense where maybe somebody else might get open or hit a crease in the run game if he's out there in a bubble. Who knows, But I think all that stuff is always good in any game because it gets the ball to people in space. And that means you don't have to run through the line of scrimmage on duos and zones all the time. Once in a while, you get out there and try and beat less defenders with more room to do it.
There's this thing, I liked that they went back to featuring Khalil more in this contest. People get caught up in this Khalil versus Donovan thing. I think that's so misguided. I did agree with no offense to Ben Hall. I think he has a bright future ahead of him. I didn't agree with playing Ben Hall over Khalil. I just, I think there's a bright future ahead of Ben Hall, but I just think there's too much. I think there's too much capital, too much playing capital, too much earned trust, too much productivity with Khalil to put that on the bench. I'm sorry. I'm playing him, and I'm riding that until the wheels fall off. So
yeah, particularly when your run game is basically a tackle-to-tackle run game, and you get a guy like him carrying the football. I think he's kind of tailor-made. He's a little bit bigger version of Hassan Haskins. I said tackle-to-tackle, kind of tight end to tight end runner. And he pops a lot of runs, Sam, inside the tackles. And because they like doing that so much, he's a fit. So that ball's not that heavy. Give it to him.
Yeah, but then there's this desire every time Donovan gets hit for no gain. Donovan misread that
open zone.
Yeah, he misread that zone play where they picked up the twist.
Yep.
And he cut it back.
Right.
When he shouldn't have. And so I don't know if people even knew that was his error. They probably blamed it on the line. It actually wasn't the line's error. That was Donovan.
That's why you got to watch film studies, Sam, because we'll clarify that stuff.
Yeah, that was Donovan. That was on Donovan.
That was on Donovan. That was definitely on Donovan.
Right, but they would say, "Oh, take him out. That should be Khalil."
No. Okay, Sam, because Donovan is a home run hitter, Sam, and he's gonna. Home run hitters do, Sam. What do?
Strike out.
They strike out. So you can take him out, and he won't strike out, and then you may not get a home run. So my point is simply this: is yes, I like Khalil inside the tackles too, but I like Donovan too, knowing that there's always a possibility he could go, i.e., national championship game, tight side zone, runs into the guard, safeties fill out of gap control, pops outside, takes it for a touchdown. Duo play, duo play. Well, let's just have Khalil run all the duels. What are you, crazy? Runs a dual play, pushes it in there. Backside linebacker pursues too fast. Boom, cuts back, breaks a tackle, touchdown. Okay. So my point is this: yeah, there's going to be a few runs you're going to. Oh, they should have had Khalil run that. But if with that mentality, you're never going to run Donovan, and you're going to lose some home runs. So no. That's bad thinking. But it is, something that you can, throw wisecracks from the cheap seats and say they should have done this after the fact. But you're going to lose that one thing that you need, and that's an explosive play, which he can give you. But it may cost you a run or two that you don't like.
Yeah, and you need a guy in this game.
And don't tell me, Sam, that he can't run certain play. He can't run that play. Run him outside every time. What are you, nuts? You can't run a guy outside every time. I know you run it outside all the time. He's got to be able to run the menu. Now, if you want to feature another guy more running certain plays, yes, I'm with that. But to say shut down certain plays saying he can't run is crazy, because it's been proven over the years he's been here. He's run all those plays for big plays at one time or another.
Yeah. And boy, if he can just pop one of those this week.
Sam, 2 years ago, you know who broke the 2 zone plays for a touchdown when they were there before? Do you know who that was, Sam? Broke the game completely open. Who was that, Sam?
That was Donovan.
That was Donovan. Yeah, that was Donovan. So to say he can't run certain plays, better get that thinking out of your brain if you want to score points.
Yeah. Adam Shepardson, any insight on Will Johnson playing in his rise? Yeah, it was certainly a setback as far as the plan was concerned for him to not be able to go against Northwestern. That was the original thinking, was for him to be able to play coming out of the bye against the Wildcats. So that's tough. That's tough for him to not be able to go and get a lather against the Wildcats to get to have some sense of readiness before you would suit up against the Buckeyes. So that certainly is not a good sign. It's not a positive thing before Ohio State. So I wish I could give you a rosier forecast. I could just tell you that wasn't a good thing before the game against the Buckeyes. But we'll see how things work out. He's certainly not a guy I just put it this way. The notion that he set out with a plan weeks ago that I'm not going to play the rest of the season, that never was the case. This dude has been trying to get back, and if he can go, if he's good enough to go, then he will. But only if he's good enough. Only if he's good enough to go. So let's go on to the next one. Nicholas Farley wants to know, Al, where are you attacking these Buckeyes if you were calling the plays Saturday?
Well, on the back end of the defense, they start with the idea that they're a quarters team, but they have a lot of variations of their quarters team, of their quarters coverage, where they'll pressure from one side, roll the corners up. But in so many instances, in a lot of instances, it is still a team that I think you got to attack the middle of the field with. You got to do something. And if you look at it in the past, there's been Michigan's had some luck throwing the ball in the middle of the field. If you remember a couple years ago, I think it was Cornelius Johnson hit a double move down the middle. Ohio State appears to play their secondary, one side a certain coverage, the other side another coverage. Okay, and they kind of work together, but kind of don't. So in some instances, they will give you some opportunities, I think, whether it be with play action passes or whatever, to get the ball down the middle. Okay, and I think that's probably where they're the most vulnerable. Now you got to protect it. There's so many factors involved, but I think that is they got to attack the middle of their coverage at least 4 to 5 times, probably a half. Knowing that not all those are going to hit, but just one could be a big chunk that could make a difference.
Yeah. So Al, we talked a lot about the offensive line. Nala really kind of gets specific. Said, how do we game plan against the Ohio State defense? Will our line hold up against their good defensive line? I think she, get specific with the with when you see a matchup issue with their defensive line against Michigan's offensive line, how do you game plan to sort of compensate for that?
Well, like we said earlier, if you're going to drop back pass, okay, and you stay in the middle pocket, I think chipping the edge rushers, turning one direction, chipping the other direction, knowing that now you can secure those edges a little bit better and make the quarterback more confident that he's going to be able to release the ball. Number two is max your protection or full turn your protection, which Michigan is right in their wheelhouse, particularly in their play action passes. They will run what I call maximum pat protection, maximum play action pass protection. Well, they turn the entire line one direction. That way, that tends to catch all those movements with the twists and the line charge variations, and then bring Bredesen off the tight end side to secure that edge and help that tight end. And then, run 2 and 3 man routes on occasion. Now, you don't want to live in that world, but every so often, there's nothing wrong with giving them a gross play action look with good maximum protection and trying to take a bite down the field, either attacking the middle of the field, attacking the flanks with 3-level flood routes, attacking the 3-level stair type patterns with post to deep ball, where those types of things I think are all good stuff against them. But again, before you draw any route, you first decide how you want to protect it. And I think some of those things I mentioned would help.
All right, Al, a few different questions coming in here right now. Good therapist said, last year, epic post-game rant. I'm not going to get you started. Hey, listen, man, if Michigan pulls this one off.
Oh, Sam, you are going to be impossible. You're not good anyway. Okay, I mean, I don't know, but impossible. Impossible.
I'll take my medicine from Ohio State. I mean, I don't know how much glee they're going to get out of beating what would then be a 6-16, but I'll take medicine from Ohio State fans if Michigan loses this game.
You got to take the bitter with the sweet. There's no
But
question.
if Michigan pulls an upset, a 3-touchdown underdog, oh man, they're gonna have to ban me from Bucknuts. I'm going on Bucknuts to post. I'm going on Ohio State site to post. You will see. I won't just be talking. I will be posting. I will be posting on their site. You will see me over on bucknuts.com, over on their site, talking all kind of trash. They're going to have to ban me from the site. I promise you. You just watch. I'm making a proclamation. Hey, that's when you just wait. You just wait.
No, I know, Sam.
I'm just
I've
calling
seen you
my
at your worst. Yeah.
I'm just calling my shot.
I've seen you at your worst, and it's
So
not good. Not good, not even a little good.
there is reason beyond just wanting to maintain their national title hopes. That's the least of their concerns. Losing the chance to win a national title. That's the least of their concern. The biggest concern is they don't want to hear from me. They don't want to hear from me. I'm just telling you, Albert.
Sam, I don't want to hear from you, for Christ's sake. I mean, this is not good. You're not good, Sam. I mean, you got to pour water on you. I mean, it's out of control.
Yes, they will. I promise you they will. Because I will be. I just know me. I just know me. And you know how much I love the Buckeyes. Because they just bring something.
Yeah, I know how much you love the
They
Buckeyes.
bring something.
Yeah.
Something about the Buckeyes that just. I don't know. I just love them so much. I just love the Buckeyes so much. I don't know what it is about you guys. Yeah. Ooh, man.
Jay, you're going to be on fire, Sam. They have fires that are hard to put out. I know the firemen know how to do them. Certain ones, water won't put them out. You got to do something else, or you're going to be that guy that you just can't put you out.
All right, let me get back to the questions. That's right. I will be posted. You're right. All right, let's get back to the questions.
And if you don't win, you're going to be a pincushion. I hope you know that, right? You've been one before. You know what that's like.
They're going to hate me. They're going to be complaining at 24/7 about me. This guy is posting on me. It's supposed to be a network. I know, except for this day. Except for this day. All right. Let's get
Cannot be
right
humbled.
back to it. Um,
Cannot be humbled. Can't be done.
yes, the next one. Al from Kobe Nichols. Gorgeous Al Borges. Do you think we will get zero coverage again for Dino to do his thing, or has Ohio learned from their mistakes?
No, I don't think you're going to get zero coverage unless they're desperate. No, no. That after our first year, Coach Knowles is I've watched every game they play. They have that. They've done that, but that's I don't know how much of that you're going to get. You're going to have to be they're going to have to feel you're so vulnerable to it that they'll do it without worrying about a big play. But based on experience, I don't think they feel like they got a zero coverage. You know, so how much of it? I doubt you'll see much.
All right. Let me see. Next one. A lot of questions about Jordan Marshall. So I'll try to condense the questions about Jordan Marshall into one. Um, Says, Coach, how do you think Jordan Marshall looked against Northwestern, the freshman running back? And I'll throw in another one. Coach, do you think we should use the freshman Marshall more? His vision and movement resembles Blake. Did you like what you saw?
Yeah,
From
I did like what I saw, man. The one time he broke somebody's ankles, it was flat ugly. Now he's got some skills, but there's only one ball, one guy can get it once at a time, once at a time. So I don't know if you got to feature him just yet. I think there's going to be opportunities down the road for him, and I'd like to see Donovan and Khalil touch that football. Both of them at least 15 to 20 times. So I'm in favor of running the horses that have brought you to the dance, and I think that those are the guys. Now, I am impressed by that kid, and I'd heard a lot about him. I had heard a lot about him before, and the little that we've seen, which wasn't much, he seems to be living up to standard. But we're going to have to see him get a few more carries before we pass judgment. But he certainly looked like he has the skills.
All right. Let me see. Next one would be, as we wind it down here, from Trevor White. Coach, do you think we can use shallow crossing routes with tight ends behind backers if they play heavy run against us?
Yeah, I think shallows off the drop back game, X crossing, flanker drives, those types of things are always good. I don't care what coverage you play. Those are always good off a drop back. And then the one thing I'd really like to see them improve, Sam, is that their naked game. Their game,
Oh,
where they're faking one direction. This is the one thing that I just didn't like that I saw on the tape is they're not getting people open on their naked bootlegs. Okay. And a lot of that's because it's not the core of the defense is not getting jerked enough with the movements. They're running some of the plays they don't run, which some people do that, and still get the guy open because the defense doesn't stop and say, oh, they don't run that play. But you do get a grosser reaction if you run those off plays that you run and those plays are successful. So the one thing I would like to see that kind of goes with that question is maybe going under center, making your fakes a little longer, making people believe that the ball's going one direction when in fact it is not. That'll open up those overs and those posts and all those types of things. I think that's the part of their game that has to take a step, particularly in a game like this where I think misdirection could be a big part of the equation.
all right. Tim Leinke, I want to know because I know you've watched a lot of Ohio State film. He says we need to go at Caleb Downs in the run game. He looked scared to get in the fight when we played Alabama. Bredesen owned him. It was to a point that Downs was running himself out of the play. I guess can't remember.
I can't draw that. I know Downs is a good player. Downs
He's
is
a good
a
player. He's
good
definitely
football player.
awesome.
They're not afraid to play him. They'll play him everywhere. They'll play him on the hashes. They'll play him in the middle third. They'll play him in the box. They're not afraid to do things with him. Okay, now Hancock, the other kid, the nickel, I think that's his name, 7. He's more likely to be low, although I've seen him at all the high spots too, on the roof in 3 deep or 2 deep or whatever. But I don't know. I don't see Downs as quite the weakness that he's saying. I think Caleb's a pretty good player. But if we execute, that's the big thing. If we can get our bodies on their bodies, get our backs aimed downfield, and then have enough to keep those guys loose so that they can't just blow up the field on us on add-ins and such, I think they can have some success against him, and Caleb Downs being one of those guys. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
we
I did
shall
much of
see.
a job answering that, but
Yeah, I guess I can't say that I noticed him running himself out of plays. I know he's a
oh, it may
tremendous
happen. It may happen, but I don't think it's something that's been a consistent. Down's a good player.
hey, just run the ball. Run the ball. I like that they figured out ways to to be able to run the football effectively with Davis and with Davis at quarterback. I was concerned that just wasn't possible. It certainly wasn't possible the way they were going about it. It wasn't. Now, okay, you figured it out. You added some things to the equation that make it possible. Now, let's see you do it against Ohio State. See you do it against Ohio State. So make them respect you by RPO. Some RPOs are going to be available.
Oh, I think so. I think they'll expand that. I think that they got it. As I said, they got it. It was good in this game, and they really just scratched the surface of how it can be successful. Because again, we didn't throw too many out there. We threw a couple, but uh, I think just to help, since the quarterback is not a runner, I think that's just another way to keep them honest and keep them spread a little bit and not packed in there to stop the run constantly.
Yep. All right, folks, that is going to do it for us on this edition of the Michigan Football Breakdown, focused on the offense with gorgeous Al Borges. I want all of you to have a happy Thanksgiving. I want to remind you that the 75% off Black Friday sale continues over at the Michigan Insider. That is 75% off an annual subscription. They're calling it the Black Friday sale. We're calling it the fireworks special. The
Fireworks
fireworks
special. That's got
special.
a good sound to it. I like it,
That's
Sam. Good.
right. The fireworks special over at the Michigan Insider,
Yeah, that's good
because
stuff.
we called Bryce Underwood. We said the fireworks. It wasn't just about Bryce, because Shamari Earls, Bryce being the crescendo, but there are fireworks on both sides of Bryce. So there are more fireworks to come, right? There are gonna
Yeah,
be some more guys that join the
no
join the
fun.
fold, and so that's what we're covering right now, leading up to signing day. So 75% off an annual subscription. That's 75 cents. Excuse me, not 75 cents, 7 cents per day.
7 cents a
Whole
day. So
year.
anybody's more that.
So go ahead, take advantage of it while you can over on the MichiganInsider.com. I'm putting the link in the chat right now. Take advantage of it. Join the family over at TMI while you can, because it's only for a limited time. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Check out the film study. And Buckeyes, you have a happy Thanksgiving too. I hope you don't have a good Saturday. If you don't, boy, oh boy, it's only going to get worse for you. It's going to get worse because you're going to see me. Oh boy. Oh boy. But I promise you this. If Ohio State wins, I show up, I take the medicine. I take all the barbs. I take all the slings and arrows. I take the medicine. I say y'all got it off. But if you lose, oh my God, man, man, Ryan Day, Ryan Day. If this is a fourth quarter game, Al, he will fold like a cheap suit. He will fold like a tent. His butt will pucker, Al Borges.
Sam.
I know this about the guy.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you.
yeah.
I
Well,
can say it. I know you won't. I
Sam,
can
I don't
say it.
say things like that about coaches. You know that. I don't believe in that.
I know you won't say it.
But I
That's why
know how you are, and when you get into your fandom mode, as I said before, you're impossible. Okay, so I'm just gonna sit here and just be me,
just
and you be
warming. I'm just
you,
warming up.
and
I'm just warming up. Adam Shepardson, so Paramount Plus does not come with the promo deal. Only full paying subscribers. So once you come off the promo, and once you come off the 7 cents per day annual deal, and you're a full paid subscriber, then you get the Paramount Plus with it. So That's only for the full paid annual subscribers. So that's how that works. So that's their perk, the full paid subscribers. So there you go. All right. All right, folks, that's going to do it. Have a happy Thanksgiving to
Sam, you
all.
locked and loaded? Are you locked and loaded? Are you ready?
I am. I am. I can't wait for the game. I'm hoping for the upset. We see the formula, and I hope we have reason to see me on a post game show ready to go without without a script and without, because there are two post game shows. There's a post game show that's on the network, and
And
then
then
there's
there's
a
the
post game show that,
unfiltered press guy. I
yeah,
know that
the
one.
unfiltered post
Yeah,
game show.
yeah, that's the one. That's the one people need to see. The post game that's politically correct is boring,
Yes,
but the one that's unfiltered is unfettered
that's the one we want to see.
and uninhibited.
All right, folks. We'll see you next time on the next edition of the Michigan Post. And by the way, listen, I need a mulligan from all my sponsors. Let me ask all my sponsors right now. I need this from my sponsors. I have several. Y'all got to give me a mulligan on Michigan, Ohio State. I know there's a line of professional decorum with all the sponsors that we represent here on the channel and on the Michigan Insider. I understand that. But, there's a time where we can separate, the professional representation from what we do for the fan, for entertainment purposes. So I'm asking the list of sponsors to give me that moment, that hiatus, the hiatus from representation in the event that Michigan pulls the upset. Give me maybe 12 hours leave. 12 hours of leave from our agreement where I can just say whatever the hell I want to say.
License to be indiscriminate.
Yes, to say what I want to say.
He's
Okay?
going to redline the posturing meter.
Right?
This will be an all-time record, Sam.
So for 12 hours,
12
just
hours.
let me be.
Let him
All right? And be okay with what I say for 12 hours. Please. Okay? Don't be offended by anything I say about the Buckeyes. It's just about the Buckeyes, and they're in Ohio. I mean, who cares? Buckeyes aren't buying. Most of the people I represent, Buckeyes aren't buying your products anyway, right? We don't even care. We don't even care. Come on, sponsor.
Sam. If they can get a win, they'll probably be happy to turn a blind eye to your posturing.
Yes, preemptive apology. Yes, that's what I'm doing. All right, folks. We'll see you next time on the next edition of the Michigan Football Breakdown, focused on the offense with Al Borges.
Go Blue.